Hey Pottery Plus, welcome back. We are heading back to our ring holder project, but we're gonna do a different version this time. We're gonna do it without the wheel, all hand built. We had a commenter who actually asked for that, so we thought we would do that today, and this is what it's gonna look like. So it's very cute. Looks a little different from the one thrown on the wheel, but still an adorable project to use for your jewelry or to give someone as a gift. So let's go get started. Okay friends, here we are about to make our hand-built ring holder. So I have a slab here. If you need to see how to roll a slab, you can go back and watch our video about that. But I'm gonna texture this slab first with this flower and butterfly. I think this is actually designed to go in the bottom of a sink to give it like some texture so it's not slippery, but it's been a really nice little texturing tool that I've had for a while. So I'm just pressing that into the surface. And I want to do my texturing before I cut out the shape of my, like the bowl part of my ring holder, because if I press in the texture after, it's going to warp the shape of it. So I'm just going to go ahead and texture this whole thing. And then I don't have to worry about it anymore after that. All right, that looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out a circle, and then I'm going to take a wedge out of the circle and cinch it together to basically make a bowl shape. And then we'll use an extra piece of clay to make the ring holder spike in the middle of it. So that's why I've got a circle template here. I measured this just off of a jar that I had, you guys. So you kind of want like a kind of small, medium size for this. But you know, it's your project. Make it whatever size you want. But I'm just going to trace around this with my needle tool. So I'm not digging in. I don't like to cut when the template is there because I feel like I can't see it. So I usually trace around it and then remove it, and then I'll cut out my circle for my dish. All right. You can cut with a needle tool, but I like to use either one of these little knives or an X-Acto knife. Just gives you a little cleaner edge, but whatever you have is fine. This is also a good time to lift your project off of your workspace and move it to a dry spot if you can, or drier. Just get a little air under it so that it's, you know, not just getting completely stuck to your work surface. I have my clay directly on my table today because all of my boards are covered with canvas, and those canvas marks were bothering me for this project. So I'm right on my work table today. I'm just keeping my knife kind of as straight up as I can and cut out my circle. All right. Next, I'm just gonna smooth my edges a little bit. You would definitely want to take more time to do this, friends, on your project, but just to give you an idea of the process, I'm not gonna do too much of that right here, but this would be the time to do your finesse on your edges when you're working through this process. Okay, so I'm gonna just eyeball this, but what I need to do, like I said earlier, is I'm gonna cut a wedge out of this, like a pizza slice, and the bigger that wedge is, the more like upright it's gonna cinch your bowl. So if you want a shallow bowl, you cut a little wedge. If you want more of like a tall bowl, you would cut a bigger wedge. I'm gonna go kind of in the middle, kind of medium. So I'm just gonna start at the middle of my circle, and I'm gonna kind of sketch that out before I cut. It's just gonna be maybe something about like that. Yeah, it looks pretty good. It'll cinch it in a little bit and give it a little shape without it being too dramatic. And I'm just gonna cut that pizza slice out. Like that. Let me turn that towards you. So it'll look something like this. So you can kind of see how this is gonna work. If I bring that together, see how it rounds it into a bowl shape? It's a cool little trick, you guys, and it's not too overcomplicated. But what I wanna do before I attach this is I'm gonna cut this edge and this edge at opposing angles so that they have more surface area to join together. So let me show you what I mean. So I'm gonna make this as easy as I can for myself because this can get kind of complicated, but to get two opposing angles that will lay together, you just need to cut the same angle on the front and back. So let me show you how I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna hold my knife at an angle, kind of brace your clay if it's feeling wiggly on you, and just cut that off at an angle. So you can kind of see the difference here. Angled cut, not angled cut. This is what we want. We want it to look like a hill, not a cliff. And then to do that same thing, only in reverse, the easiest way I've found to do that is just to turn it over. Kind of confirm that you don't have it on the side that you've already cut. Make sure you're working on the uncut side, and then just do the exact same thing again. That way you don't have to worry about changing hand positions or anything like that. You can just do this kind of the same thing twice by reversing your clay instead of reversing yourself. While I have this here, and don't worry, my texture is gonna be just fine even though it's turned upside down, as long as I don't put any pressure. It's not gonna squish out my texture just to have it resting here for a minute. But while I have the upside down facing up, I'm gonna go ahead and do my scoring there. Then same thing again right here. Really scratch that up pretty well. You kind of want your surface to look like Velcro, have a lot of little areas of texture sticking up. I'm gonna work that little blob in there. And then from here, I'm gonna add just a little water. I'm actually gonna only add water on this front side by just tapping it in, because this clay is pretty fresh out of the bag. It doesn't need a whole lot of water to stick. So that's gonna be my slip. And then, okay, here's where the magic happens. You're gonna pull those two angles together and attach. And you're just gonna squeeze them. You will kind of mess up your texture here a little bit. I'm just squeezing that seam between my hands, friends. And kind of what I was doing there was kind of pushing them together so that they sort of rub together. You can kind of wiggle, however you need to do that. When they stop feeling like they're slipping around, that means you've probably got a pretty good stick. So now I'm just gonna squeeze out between my fingers. You can finesse this as much as you want, but as long as you feel that the seam is like sturdy, you don't really have to do much more. And again, you know, you always might consider leaving kind of an exposed seam. It doesn't always look bad. This is a handmade piece, so we don't need to make it look like it's from the factory if you don't want to. But also, if you do like to do those refining steps, I totally respect that. You have to do it the way you want. Okay, so it's a little tippy. So what you're gonna do from here is just make a little flat part, and I'm just pressing this against the table with my finger. Again, kind of trying to be mindful about not flattening that texture too much, but like there's just a certain amount that you can't really avoid. And that's gonna be the bowl part of it, you guys. My little spike will be attached right here, and I'm gonna show you how to make that next. Okay, friends, to finish things up, let's make the ring spike for the center of the bowl. I've got 2 ounces of clay here. I did wedge this, even though it's really small, but I'm gonna kind of ask it to be stretching out like this to make that ring spike. So I wanted all the clay particles to be nice and orderly. So what I'm gonna start to do here is I'm gonna turn it with my left hand. I'm a righty, so you could flip this if you're a lefty, but I'm gonna turn it with my left hand and squeeze it with my right hand, kind of like I'm making a coil. Ooh, oh, this clay might have set out a little long. It's okay, I can still show you the technique. So I'm gonna squeeze more firmly as I get towards the end so that I get that tapered shape. This is similar to the way that you make a handle if you want a tapered handle. So I'm just gonna squeeze that mostly into shape. This is gonna be your most important forming shape for getting the shape of this, you guys. I know that we're always tempted to roll it to death, but you need to get it into that tapered shape first and then do the rolling part, okay? Trust me. Otherwise, you're gonna get a flat side to it. Okay, that taper's looking pretty good. I'm happy with that. So now I'm gonna roll this to start to refine the surface. And because it's tapered, it's gonna roll like this. So let it roll in kind of that C shape when you're doing this part. because if you try to force it to go straight, it gets kind of like uneven. Like the roundness of it will get a flat side to it. That's kind of always the danger with any type of like technique in the coiling family. You always want to kind of try to avoid getting a flat spot. Okay, so it's gonna look like that. You can see this part of refinement takes quite a long time. You can come in with your fingers or a sponge, but I'm just gonna grab a finished one that I made off camera. But yeah, from here you would just refine this up, trim off this excess so that you have a nice little spike like that, okay? Here's my completed one. This took much longer than that one that I just showed you, but let me show you how to attach it to the inside of your ring holder. And also, friends, I let this one set up. This has been setting for probably 45 minutes at this point, so that's also really helpful. With a thin little piece of clay like this, it's really easy to like bump it and make it not straight. So letting it set for a minute helps. So I'm gonna place this where I want and then trace, press and wiggle it down just a little bit so it's not so loose. And then I'm gonna trace around that with my needle tool. You could actually let the bowl set a little bit too, friends, before you do this attachment, because this bowl is still pretty squishy, but yeah, you could always have the option to let things set up for a minute. That usually helps with processes like this. I'm gonna score the bottom of my ring spike. Is that what that's called? I don't know. I don't know the technical name for that. Just kind of been saying a spike for this whole time. So score the bottom of that, score where I traced, and then you can kind of see where this is going from here, folks. It's after you get this attached, it's just a matter of finesse. Can clean things up, add decorations, add personalizations. You know, these are great for gifts. I'm gonna pat a little water in there and then press and wiggle it down. Okay, so it's looking like that right now. And all I need from here is some refining steps. I think I would take a damp paintbrush and clean up around that area. And then from there, you guys, sky's the limit. You know, I've seen some really cute ones of these that have all different little sculptural elements, little handles, little different decorations. So that's the basics, and you can make it your own from there. Thank you so much for joining us for this project today, and we will see you on the next one, Pottery Plus. Bye-bye. Have a good day.